friends, welcome to today's video. Today we are tackling eyes and brows. So if you've been watching my videos over the last couple of days, you know that I'm doing this little mini series where I am breaking up a full makeup application into smaller, shorter videos, even though I think they're being longer than I intended them to be. But I really wanted to give very detailed explanations and tips and tricks for each stage of the makeup. And I knew if I did that in one video, it would be 45 minutes. So here we are doing these smaller videos. I will link the other two videos that I've done, foundation, concealer, setting powders, bronzer, blush, contour, highlight. I will link those two videos down below, but let's go ahead and get started for eyes. So in these videos, I'm really showing you guys the tips and tricks that I constantly do every day. And I'm also gonna kind of share other tips and tricks that I can think of as I'm going. But when I start my eyes, I always apply an eyeshadow primer. And I really like eyeshadow primers that are translucent. Right now I'm using the Revlon Color Stay one. I also like the Milani. I also like the Urban Decay one. Basically, I like any of them that are translucent, that don't have any shimmer to them, that don't have a lot of color or any color to them. Some of them will give a slight brightness to the eye, which is fine, but I don't want anything that's going to alter the color of my eyeshadow. I just want something that is going to give the shadow something to adhere to, so it intensifies the true color of the shadow, and it also prevents a lot of fallout, and it also keeps it on all day. And I like to use my finger to apply it because I want to make sure that this product is applied evenly across the lid, and I want it to be applied sheerly. I don't want there to be any patches where there is more product than not, because then that'll affect the shadow. Now, one thing I sometimes do, I sometimes don't think to do it, but I do think it helps in the overall blending of your shadows, is applying a setting powder before you apply eyeshadow. Anything translucent, this has a little bit of color to it, but it's pretty much translucent. You can use a loose powder. You can even use your face powder that you use, but just like a light dust of this over the lid before you apply eyeshadow will just help set it. So again, if there's any patchiness in the primer, it's going to prevent your shadow from sticking to it and being hard to blend out. So we're gonna work with a new Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. I posted on Instagram about this last week and you guys wanted me to use this in a video. I'm not gonna make this a dedicated review to this because I really want this video to be focused on technique on eyes, but I wanted to use it. So I'm gonna go in, and I always like to apply my contour or my crease color or my prime color as I learned it back in the day working for MAC. I always like to apply that first. Now, when I look in this palette, I'm gonna go straight for the obvious one to me, which is the shade called Bucked. It is a mid-tone neutral matte shade. And I pretty much always use a matte shade as my crease color. The reason that I do that is because I'm trying to create definition in this crease. I don't have a really super defined crease, and I want to create that. If I were to use shimmer, shimmer reflects light. So if I use something really shimmer, it's going to reflect light and make that crease look like it's coming outward. I don't want it to look like it's coming outward. I want it to pull you in. I want it to look like it's going in. So that is why I'm using matte. Matte shades, deeper shades, they recede light, and shimmer, brighter shades, reflect light. So I start in my crease, but I actually kind of create this halo of shadow that fades above my crease. Because of the shape of my eyes, if I just kept that concentrated in my crease, if I were to open my eyes and look at someone, that color is going to disappear, and I want you to see it. So by doing this technique, it actually lifts the eye and also creates some dimension. So I do slightly raise my eyebrows, and I just kind of work my way back and forth, back and forth. The brush that you use for this technique is so important. You want something that's fluffy and soft, that's going to do a really good job of blending. If you have a brush that's too stiff or small, you're going to have a definitely more defined crease, which may be what you want. But if you want a wash of color, you want to make sure that you're using something fluffy enough to create that. This is such a pretty color for a crease. So, so pretty. Next, I'm going to show you guys how I add a deeper color to the outer corner. I think this can be intimidating for a lot of people because when we go in with a deep color, it's like there's no going back, right? But I'm going to show you guys some tips and tricks that help you control where that product goes and helps you blend it out. So when I go and apply a really dark color, I like to use a very small pencil brush, something like this. This is the MAC 219. Sigma makes one. I feel like most brush lines make something like this, something very small. Now I'm going to go in and let's just go for it. We're going to go for this really dark shade. This color is called Endgame. And it is as dark as you get in a brown, pretty much. And I'm going to use this pencil brush and I'm going to load it up. And I'm going to use this to apply that right where I want it, which is right here in the outer corner. I don't want it to go far into the crease. I really want it to be in the outer corner. I feel like I should probably zoom you guys in for this. Hang on. There we go. So I go and I apply this, and I'm gonna kind of take it, oh, I don't know, right about there. Now that looks crazy. That does not look how we want it to look, but don't panic because I'm just using this brush to apply it. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna blend that out with a fluffier brush, the one that I used in the crease. And I'm gonna use this to soften it out. So all I'm doing is I'm pressing this brush into it, and then I am just I'm basically going in little circles and back and forth. You can see I'm not taking it all the way over here because I really don't want that dark color to creep over here. I want that dark color to stay where in its little corner. Sit there in your little corner and stay there. That's what I want. So I'm just gonna kind of go over it and soften it. I don't wanna completely, you know, shear it out to where you can't tell it's there anymore. That's not the goal here. The goal is just to soften it. So now we've done that. So next I'm gonna apply my lid color, and for the lid I want something bright and reflective. That is going to make my eyes appear larger. It's also going to help enhance that definition I'm trying to create in the crease because it is such a contrast between what we've already done. So I'm gonna go in with this shade here. It's called Barely Baked, and it is a really like yellow gold shimmery shade. And I am just getting a brush. This is the 213 by MAC. I wanna say I heard they discontinued this, which is crazy. But any like small kind of like, you know, dense brush that you have that's shaped like this, almost shaped like a fingertip. You could certainly use your finger too. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pack this onto the eyelid. Now, whenever I am doing this part of the eye, I always press and pack. You can see that my technique is quite a bit different than what I was just doing. Just now I was working in circles. Now I'm pressing. You'll also notice that I am gripping this brush towards the end of it because I want full control over where that goes. When I blend out product, I typically have my hand held a little further back because I want more range of motion. I want more movement in my hand. It's hard to blend when you're like this. It's really hard to blend when you're like this. So the place that you hold your brush does definitely impact the application. So I'm just gonna go and press, press, press. Now after I've applied the lid color, usually I'll go back and I'll perfect the crease a little bit. I see some shimmer has gotten over here on this outer corner. I kind of want to clean that up. So I'm just going to take the crease brush and we're just going to go back over the crease a little bit with that first color we used. And then I'm going to use the very tip of this and I'm going to dip it in that darkest color. I'm going to tap off the excess because I don't want a lot of fallout. And I'm just going to softly and lightly blend over. And last, I do my brow highlight last. I'm not sure why I do that. I think I do it because I kind of see how far my crease goes and then I just highlight right outside of that. So I'm gonna go into the palette and I'm gonna take, there's two good highlight colors here. There's this color Blur and then there's a slightly brighter color right here on this end. And I'm gonna go in with a brighter color. It's called Bride. And I'm taking a brush that is similar to the brush I just used on my lid. I certainly could have used the same brush, but this one's just a little bit shorter and more dense. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna apply that right underneath my eyebrow. I'm gonna try not to get it onto the crease color, which it did a little bit, so I'm gonna go back and clean that up. But I'm gonna really just try and keep that right underneath the brow, just to give that slightest bit of brightness and highlight. Again, that's also gonna help lift the eye because it's pulling your attention to that, right? It's pulling your attention to that lightness. So the next step that I do in my eyes is I do my brows. I do my liner and lashes last. I do my brows next. The product that I've been loving is the NYX Precision Brow Pencil. You've heard me talk about this a lot. I start by combing my brows, and I just recently had them done a couple of days ago. So they have a nice shape to them. So I'm just gonna comb through my natural brows. Now I do have my brows microbladed, so I do have kind of the outline of where my product needs to go. I like this pencil a lot because I find that I can get it's in between a very precise brow pencil and a shadow. It's kind of middle of the road. It's going to give me the color and softness from a shadow. I can get that, but I can also be more precise with it. So I always start here with the bulk of where my brow should start. I don't have any real hair there, but I do have microblading there. And my application in my hand is so light. I don't want angry brows. I don't want really intense brows. I want really soft, light hair strokes. So my pressure right now, you guys, is so soft, and I'm just using the tip of this pencil. I'm not sticking it and using the whole side. I'm just using the tip. especially because I don't actually have hair here, and the more pressure that I use, the more obvious it's gonna look like makeup, and I don't want that. Then I go and I kind of trace the under outline of my brow. When I get to the arch here, then I start to pull it down, but I'm still keeping very, very soft strokes, especially in areas where there's not actual hair there and I'm creating the illusion of hair. I need it to be extremely soft because I want it to look natural. And then I'm gonna create and emphasize the arch a little bit there too. So then I'm just kind of filling in my natural brow by just making soft little strokes all throughout the hair. There is one other step that I do in my brow, so I'm not gonna worry about getting perfect precise with this, or perfectly filling in with this, I should say. After I've created the shape with that, then I go in with a brow gel, and right now I'm using the Hourglass brow gel. I also like the Benefit Gimme Brow a lot. I also like the Glossier. I just like one that has a small little spoolie that has more control. And then I'm just gonna kind of go over my brows. I like to use a brow gel because it kind of combs and keeps the brows in place. It's almost like a very light mousse for your brow that you would put in your hair, but it's for your brows. But it also is gonna soften any lines. So if you've used a pencil like I have, this is gonna help soften that and make it look more like hair. It also adds volume to your brows so it looks more like hair fibers. If you've ever gone too heavy with the brow gel, which I think I just did, you can just use your spoolie from your brow pencil or a clean mascara wand if you have like them around. I do have them because I'm a makeup artist, but just use your like spoolie on your brow pencil to just go over that with no product on it, and that'll help kind of soften and remove any extra product. For my lower lash line, I typically like to line my lower lash line with a pencil, like a really soft kohl pencil. And I always start in the outer corner and then I take it to about midway, like kind of where the middle of my iris is. The reason I don't take it all the way over is because that will make your eyes appear smaller. Again, if you have really large eyes and you want them to be small, then certainly do that. For me, I want my eyes to look bigger, so I'm gonna stop about center. Then what I like to do is I like to go over this with an eyeshadow. And you can really use the same brush that you use to apply that outer corner. Of course, I'm gonna kind of dust it off and get that dark color out because I don't want it to be super dark. I'm gonna go in with the crease color that I use, the color Buck. Because I have this pencil here, it's going to appear darker. This shadow is going to go on darker. The reason that I always apply a shadow is because, one, I want a smokier, softer look, but two, it's also gonna set this pencil, so it's gonna kind of eliminate creasing or smudging from the pencil. Because this pencil is soft and creamy, it can kind of do that. Although this one's really good at setting and staying in place. Of course, it's not gonna stay that way for everyone. Some people have oilier skin or the climate that you live in. But adding this step to it, like this powder, it's almost like setting your foundation with powder. You're setting that eyeliner with a powder. And it's also giving it a softer look. So instead of having like this harsh line where it ends, you have a bit more of a diffused line of liner. I just think it's prettier and it just gives a soft, pretty look. It's just a personal style of mine. I don't really line the inner rim with a dark pencil. I think that's a pretty technique and I think it looks beautiful on some people. For me, I think it just makes my eyes look smaller and I like to make my eyes look brighter. All about personal preference. I do like to line the inner rim of my eye with something bright, and I like the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlight Pencil. Anything really that has like a pink tone to it or a peach tone to it. I try and stay away from like white eyeliners because they look too harsh. And I like to use something with a little bit of a pink or peachy tone to it. And I don't go back and forth to have a really stark appearance. I just, again, want something bright. But adding that little step is just gonna really open up and brighten up your eyes, especially when you have mascara on. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop this video here. The next video is gonna be on liquid liner and how to apply false lashes. So leave me all your questions and comments that you have related to this video down below. I will link the others that I've already done down below, and then be sure and subscribe if you're not already, so you don't miss the next step in the makeup application process, which is going to be winged liner and lashes. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!